Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's February 23rd, 2024. And something really strange is going on, isn't there? We've got phone outages. We're going to cover that later in the show today. And also the final season finale of True Detective, which is about an Arctic pathogen thawed from the permafrost. Now, the reason why we're covering this is because this pathogen that's mentioned in True Detective has the ability to reanimate the dead, to create walking zombies, and also spawn alternative realities and changing timelines. Now, I captured this screenshot from the episode, which we're going to get into today, because something supernatural is happening. A direct connection to this scene on the left from I, Petco 2 actually appears in True Detective, the season finale. The same thing. A fruit rolling across the floor, stopping near an icy smear on the floor. Just like in I, Petco 2 from 2012, 12 years before True Detective Season 4 came out. You can even see that it even has the spotlight effect on the fruit, just like here. Now, the reason why this series is so important is because we've been digging deep into symbolism surrounding frozen pathogens, as well as fire and ice. And we've been talking about close approaches of comets and the programming of that in entertainment media since the beginnings of this channel, as we showed you yesterday, going all the way back to 2013. And we are fast approaching another cosmic event, the same scenario, fire and ice, with this fire eclipse coming up next to an ice comet. This is coming up in a few short weeks. Some cities are already declaring a state of emergency as this comet is approaching and this eclipse is approaching. So something is different about this one, isn't there? Well, let's get into this episode after I say good morning. Good morning, everybody. How's everything going? Welcome back to the channel. I got some screenshots pulled up for you. This is unbelievable. Let's get into this.
So it doesn't work.
No, it did. See, that's what nobody understands. We cracked it. We could actually do it. We were digging for the DNA of a microorganism contained in the permafrost that could potentially
save the world.
We could extract the DNA with much less damage and faster by multiple of hundreds.
Now, this guy here in the chair is a mad scientist that they capture. They came across him in a secret underground lab that was buried in the permafrost. They had literally built this lab underground next to this discovery of frozen pathogens in the ice. And he and his fellow scientists killed a young Eskimo girl who found her way into the lab. She was trying to figure out why the people in her town were getting sick, who was poisoning her community. And she figures out the truth, and in a fit of rage, she destroys all their research. And this triggers all the scientists to turn on her and kill her. And here's where we get into poison water, as the scientist explains the reason why they poisoned the water. He says it was to melt the permafrost faster, to make their access to the pathogen go quicker. Let's take a look.
Thousands.
So you were falsifying the toxicity numbers for Silver Sky Mine?
No. We could do it because the pollution from the mine helps soften the permafrost. The more waste in the water, the more waste in the ground, the better the permafrost was for our work.
Now, this rings so many alarm bells on so many levels, it's not even funny. I grew up in a time where you never used treated water to feed back to a community. You never used sewer water to give back to drinking water. It was always put into like a stream or something after they treated the water and would go out to the ocean. But now they're literally recycling sewage water. So there's so many levels to this. Now, let's keep watching here.
No, we were pushing the mine to produce more pollutants. I know, but it could have changed the world. It still could.
And that was worth killing Annie.
Now, what does the poison water really represent here, if we think about it? Well, it has to be the contaminated water, the waters of death, the swamp from which this pathogen comes from. Now, there's all kinds of things in the water. The hydra we've talked about, the dark seed of the serpent, dark spirits are all in this dark water. So that's what this really represents. And it will be a catalyst to how they will try to transform our DNA. Now, at this point, the captured scientist then tells a story of how the pathogen kept reanimating Annie, reanimating her back to life. Let's take a look.
I knew she'd come back. She's awake. I kept seeing her. Now hearing her voice more and more. I knew she'd come for us.
Hey, Clark. What?
But the version of Annie that comes back is, of course, a dark version of her. It's a dark version of Annie. Now, contamination is the clue, right? The dark waters, the pathogen.
I stayed there, holding the hatch for an hour or a week. After we all die, time is a flat circle, and we are all stuck in it.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the dark water also affected reality and time, as you just heard him explain. It shifted time in some kind of strange way. And the series actually has two different alternative explanations as to how the scientists died, because that's the whole thing is centered around how the scientists died. How did they find the 5 scientists in the permafrost, frozen? How did they die? Who killed them? And then you finally get down to the end of it, but 2 alternative explanations are given. In the version that you just heard him tell, this last scientist here, he says that zombie Annie murdered all of the scientists. But later in the episode, another version of the events is given. Because in the alternate version, it's the town people who solve the murder. They go down, find their way down into the lab, solve the murder, find evidence, and then they march all the scientists into the snow to freeze to death. So this suggests some kind of time slippage or alternate timelines. Now, this next part is creepy because it links the scene that you're going to see next to the comet on the floor and fruit rolling across the floor in iPad Go 2. This is crazy.
She's been hiding in those caves forever. And before she was born. The pollution knowingly created by Silver Sky has caused cancer. Pollution levels in the region are 11 times higher than those currently acceptable by the Vienna Convention and the UNFCCC. Stillbirths, birth defects, and irreparable genetic damage.
So this is broken up into two scenes. The beginning of the last episode, where this orange rolls out. And this later scene, where she's peeling an orange and it drops on the floor.
My mother used to love oranges. Love them. She used to peel them in just one long strip.
So you just heard her describe peeling an orange in one long strip. Well, we all know what that looks like, don't we? When you lay it flat, just like Jodie Foster's doing on this plate here, it looks like a spiral. Spirals are portals. Right? Now, what does this mean? Well, oranges are the most hybridized fruit. And the portal happens through hybridization. This is what they're trying to do. Mixing fallen and human, the twin spirits, through hybridization. In fact, this spiral effect shows up all throughout the series, and it's actually part of the trope of the film or the series. These spirals appear everywhere. And they're usually left at the scene of a crime, or they manifest in some of the characters' things that they do. Here it appears on a rock. So, this is the orange peel. This is the hybridization portal. Now let's keep watching here. This is crazy.
Julia, too.
The orange rolls on the floor, and then she flashes back because this is the same spot where she saw the tongue. She found a severed tongue underneath this table. It was the first clue she found in episode 1 of the series. Now, this tongue is important. I'm going to tell you what I think the tongue means. We'll do a little Q&A and let's see if you guys can figure it out. But we're going to see what the tongue means. Let's back this up so you can see this. This is the first clue she found. Episode 1 was this tongue. She picks it up off the floor and it leaves like a wet spot. Now, they never really explain what the tongue means, but I think we figured it out. But here you see the fluid on the floor next to the orange, and what you're going to see if you look very closely is that the fluid will move supernaturally towards the orange, almost like the exact shape of this Comet C swipe on the floor in iPet Goat 2 next to the apple. And we said this back in 2013 that this smear on the floor was a comet. It was C for comet. Now, let's keep watching. Look at this smear on the floor. I have it zoomed in. Did you see that? And there you have a C-shaped swipe, just like an iPet Goat 2, with the spotlight on it, just like an iPet Goat 2, next to the fruit, just like an iPet Goat 2. This thing's about twin spirits. And out of this apple and iPet Goat 2 comes 2 seeds. It's what I've been saying since the beginning. And the True Detective theme was all about this. The same thing. 12 years apart. Now, the frost on the floor. They're in a freezing subterranean space in this lab. And so obviously this wet mark that was left by the tongue is frosty. It's frost moving toward the light, moving toward the orange. Let me back this up. Now, what the heck would the makers of True Detective be doing collaborating with the makers of iPet Goat 2? The two are two completely different genres. Well, they probably didn't collaborate with them. This is some secret thing that they know is going to happen that they're not telling us about, and they're seeding it into our consciousness to manipulate our thoughts. This is why it's so important to see these patterns and decode them instead of being programmed by them. Now, it's unreal. We have a match here. Now, we even have the girl who allowed the apple to roll across the floor. Her name is Lily in iPet Go 2, and she's a blonde girl, just like Jodie Foster's blonde. It's almost all the same elements. Let's keep watching here. Let's play that back where it's supernaturally so I want to show you guys this. Where the frost like moves across the floor. So you can see that up close. Now, let's keep going here.
Hey.
And here is Lily from iPet Go 2, which what I'm starting to realize, because we've tried to identify who Lily is over the years, Lily is a trope. It's not any one person. It's all of the people who match this trope. In this case, Jodie Foster becomes Lily because she's wearing the red jacket. Even though it's an orange that slides across the floor, this is a trope. So let's play the scene through. The apple rolls across the floor, checkerboard floor. It passes what we've now identified as two comets on the floor. The black triangle, which we identified as Comet Ison, and this other comet, a letter C on the floor. The fruit then stops, and this black smudge, not only was it Comet Ison, but it represents the black goo. The black smudge is the black pathogen. Then we have the spotlight, and this is all about a freezing comet. It then opens, and two seeds come out and intertwine together, the mixing of the two seeds. Now, there's a little bit more to the scene that we're going to expand on today because Obama comes into the picture here. See this foot over the coin down here? Well, all the way back in 2013, I told you that this had a Ukraine connection. Let me zoom in on this. You could see this. That's Obama's foot covering the coin. And we said back then that that was Panikovsky from the golden calf. And here is the foot over the coin. It's a monument in the Ukraine. And we said back then that what's this? That looks like a spiral triangle. Never saw that before. Well, Panikovsky was a character in the novel, the Russian novel, The Little Golden Calf. And we said back then that Panikovsky probably meant panic over sky, panic over the sky. So, let's keep watching the rest of this here. So, what is this about? Well, remember, Obama has these biolabs in the Ukraine. And this has to be the connection. Because this is what Biden is likely doing over there. This is why we're involved over there. And we went back in time during the Obama presidency, and we saw Obama make a deal with Dick Lugar to do biolabs in the Ukraine. You see how all this is connected now? And they revealed it here in iPet Go 2. Now another comet is approaching, as we know. And It will be here on April 8th. It will be fire and ice all over again.
So it doesn't work.
And then I wanted to look at the characters from True Detective. And this is just chilling. Jodie Foster, born on 1119, which is 9/11 backwards. And she's 61 years old. So you have yourself a portal, right? What is a portal? Well, 1119, flip it upside down, and it forms a 61. Coming in, going out. Now, if this was the only synchronicity, I probably wouldn't have reported on it. But there are always two proofs, aren't there? Because Jodie Foster is the protagonist in the series, and her antagonist is this guy. He's the guy that cut the tongue out that she found. He's the guy that was killing people. And guess when he was born? 9/11/59. So there you have a connection between the protagonist and the antagonist of the series. And you can see how they literally cast these people by their birthdays. Now, there is no real reason that we're given as to why the tongues got cut out by this guy. They say that it was this guy who did it. The only explanation we're given is that he probably did it to send a message to the villagers, because he was a bad cop. He wanted to send a message to the villagers to keep quiet. But I have another theory as to why the tongue was found next to the comet on the floor. And let's see if anyone is if the Holy Spirit's going to basically share the same thought with you. Let's go into the chat and see what you think the tongue stands for next to the frozen comet smear on the floor. What do you think the tongue stands for? What is the symbolism of the tongue? Let's see who else might be on the same wavelength with us today. And this is it's a little bit one-off, but I think someone's going to get it. What do you think the tongue represents? David says forked tongue. There are really no wrong answers here. So we're in the nested reality. So each answer kind of has some truth to it. You know what I mean? Because, yeah. All right. What does the tongue represent? Silence. Yeah, silencing her. There's a little bit of a. Let me give you a clue. Let's see. Let's give you guys a couple more minutes to try to figure it out. Sticking the tongue out, Shiva, says Tara, to silence us. Okay, let me give you a clue. The tongue has something to do with a close approach comet. Let me give you that clue. Let's see who might get this answer to that. Stopping free speech. Some of you guys are saying censorship. Losing your senses. Take your voice. Okay, are you ready for this? Now, even the maker of True Detective says that she intentionally left it obscure and that there was a secret meaning to the tongue. And this is chilling. Here's what I think the tongue represented. Tunguska event. Tunguska event, which was a close approach comet. And it would make sense that the tongue on the floor next to the comet smear, and this whole thing being about frozen pathogens probably left by a comet hundreds of years ago and stayed frozen in the tundra, it would make sense that there could be another Tunguska event. Now, what is the Tunguska event about? Well, what many people don't realize is that they've actually hypothesized that the Tunguska event could have been from a frozen comet. This happened in Russia, which also fits in the storyline. Here, let's read about this. In 1930, the British meteorologist and a mathematician suggested that the Tunguska body was a small comet. A comet is composed of dust and volatiles, such as water, ice, and frozen gases, and could have completely vaporized by the impact of the Earth's atmosphere, leaving no obvious traces. The comet hypothesis was further supported by the glowing skies observed across Eurasia for several evenings after the impact, which are possibly explained by dust and ice that had been dispersed from the comet's tail across the upper atmosphere. The cometary hypothesis gained a general acceptance among Soviet Tunguska investigators by the 1960s. In 1978, a Slovak astronomer suggested that the body was a fragment of Comet Encke. This is a periodic comet with an extremely short period of just over 3 years that stays entirely within the orbit of Jupiter. It is also responsible for the Beta Taurids, an annual meteor shower with a maximum activity around June. The Tunguska event coincided with peak activity of that shower. So here we have comet material coming down, just like the comet material coming down in I, Pet, Goat 2. Is there a comet approaching that is going to shower the world with some kind of I, Pet, Goat 2 landscape and drop all of this snow that they will then say caused some kind of pathogen to be released? I don't know the answer to that. But there is no need for fear if you're saved, because we all know that all this has to happen. Now, what's in the Bible that could coincide with all of this? Well, it could be wormwood. Could be the third of the ocean's poison, the third of the green grass. This could be what Revelation was talking about. I don't know this, but I can tell you that there's no mistake. There's no reason that we have found yet that concludes decisively why I, Pet, Goat 2 has the snowy landscape. Until this moment in time, I could not tell you why. Let's go to Hierophant. I could not tell you why there's a snowy landscape in I, Pet, Goat 2. But now it's beginning to seem to all come together. There are eclipses in I, Pet, Goat 2. There's the snowy landscape. The whole thing is full of snow. Maybe this is a close approach comet. Here's the eclipse. And maybe this is why I, Pet, Goat 2 pulled down the website and then put it back up. Pulled down their YouTube channel, then put it back up. Just wow. Well, I guess we'll have to see, right? I guess we're just going to have to see what happens. Now, I got some other headlines to go over today that seem to suggest that things are ramping up on some level going into the eclipse. What am I talking about? Well, there are actual counties that are basically having a state of emergency in anticipation of the solar eclipse. Now, I don't know if there's a precedent for this. Has this happened before? Why would a county, this is in Texas, why would they declare a state of emergency? They're telling us it's because of the anticipated crowds. That to me sounds like a cover story. And why so far out? Is there going to be a close approach event that they're not telling us about? We've all seen the scenarios in the programming. They wait till the last minute to tell everybody because they don't want to cause panic. Panic over sky. Panikovsky. And here they're declaring states of emergency. Have you guys ever heard of them doing that in anticipation of an eclipse? Did they do it during the first Great American Eclipse that happened in 2017? I don't remember them declaring a state of emergency. This is really weird. Now, many of you also noticed that there were a bunch of towns named Nineveh along the path of the eclipse. There's like 10 or 12 towns and cities named Nineveh that fall directly within the eclipse path. What could that mean? Well, Nineveh is water. Jonah in the belly of the whale for 3 days. So this is Bell County, Texas, ahead of the Great American Eclipse. Bell County issued a local state of emergency, anticipating a significant surge in visitors and strained resources. That sounds like a cover story. The county expects its population of 400,000 to double in days leading up to and after the eclipse due to our location in the path of totality, when the moon completely covers the sun. Now, they would know because they could look at hotel bookings, right? So they're not making this up. Their population's going to double. What is this about? The county expects traffic congestion, fuel shortages, what the heck, and strains on first responders, hospitals, and food. The declaration will help the county coordinate with the State Department of Emergency Management if state assistance is needed. Declaration also requires property owners to register with the county if they're hosting events like watch parties or camping for more than 50 people, as well as provide adequate bathroom and waste disposal facilities. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, what else is going on? Well, animals are acting really weird, and for the first time since we've been talking about chronic wasting disease and zombie deer, they're now admitting that this could jump into humans. This is February 22nd, 2024. One of you sent this to me just yesterday. And now they're finally saying, oh, first they were telling us, don't worry, it doesn't jump to humans. And now they're saying they're increasingly worried. Do you see the setup here? You've got disease X, you got close approach comets, you've got eclipses. It's like they're programming us to set up for whatever deception is coming. Let's read. Each fall, millions of hunters across North America make their way into forests and grasslands to hunt deer. Over the winter, people chow down on the venison, steak, sausage, and burgers made from the animals. These hunters, however, are not just on the front lines of an American tradition. Infectious disease researchers say they are also on the front lines of what could be a serious threat to public health: chronic wasting disease. The neurological disease, which is contagious, rapidly spreading, and always fatal, is caused by misfolded proteins called prions. It is known to infect only members of the cervid family: elk, deer, reindeer, caribou, and moose. Now, I'll tell you a personal story. Everybody knows in the county that I live in, they will all tell you this, all men who hunt, but that we never had chronic wasting disease here until they started a stalking program of elk a few counties over. And they literally reintroduced elk into Arkansas. And that is when chronic wasting disease started. They actually measured it in the elk, and then it spread to the deer. I hope they aren't intentionally infecting the deer. Animal disease scientists are alarmed about the rapid spread of chronic wasting disease in deer. Recent research shows that the barrier to a spillover into humans is less formidable than previously believed. That's why you can't believe these people. False sense of security. Let me read that again. Recent research shows that the barrier to a spillover into humans is less formidable than previously believed, and that the prions causing the disease may be evolving to become more able to infect humans. So in one swipe of the pen, they basically took out an entire food source for American hunting families. In one swipe of a pen, they did this. Like, I'm literally wondering if I even want to hunt deer anymore. This is unbelievable. A response to the threat is ramping up. In 2023, a coalition of researchers began working on a major initiative bringing together 68 different global experts on various aspects of chronic wasting disease to really look at what are the challenges ahead should we see a spillover into humans and food production. So they're already ramping up for this. They're saying we are quite unprepared. Fear, fear, fear. So they're doing a setup, aren't they? Wow. Well, guess we're going to see. This is the Star Tribune. Put links to all this for you guys. Animals are acting weird. Here's another story. Dogs jumping into cars. Random dogs jumping into strangers' cars. Let's read. This is in Florida. Dogs jumping into a stranger's car and unexpectedly took over the front seats. Florida photos show this Facebook user was dropping her child off to daycare and left her driver's side doors open. 3 German shepherds slipped inside, sitting on the front seats. The pets were holding my car hostage. She needed to go to work. Forever be her nightmare. Why would it be a nightmare? The dogs seem really nice, but it is a strange thing for dogs to do. Where did the dogs come from? St. Petersburg Police Department responded to the scene just outside of Tampa. Dogs wouldn't budge. Understandably, the woman driver wasn't too pleased. Gosh, she sounds like a Karen to me. Officers said the dogs were well behaved and may have been ready for a car ride. They tugged on the animals' collars to help coax them out. Facebook user said 2 of the dogs got out and the police used fish sticks to help lure the one that remained behind. They were probably abused dogs trying to get away from their owners. So, something's going on. Or did these dogs pick up on something? Something supernatural, something in the air, something in the sky, and they were taking cover. Something weird happened yesterday. A bunch of cell phones went out. Cell phone outage hits AT&T customers nationwide. Verizon and T-Mobile users also affected. Tens of thousands of AT&T customers were left without service for hours on Thursday for their home phone, internet, and mobile phone services. Wow. Home phone, too. The outages started popping up just before 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time, according to the graph shows on the website that tracks outages. Most of the users still impacted. 51% say they are having issues with mobile phone services. 40% of customers currently reporting being affected say they have no signal at all, and 9% of users say their mobile internet is down. So, is this how they're going to wipe out communication if things start going down? No one's going to be able to communicate. They'll say, oh, well, we've been having problems. No wonder. And we can't compare notes. We can't contact each other. I don't know, you guys. This is all really weird. As you know, I don't live in fear, but also we should be prepared. I wouldn't put it past these people to not tell us if something was going to happen, right? If they knew wormwood was coming in. Now, some of you are astronomers. Maybe you can look up in the sky and see if you see anything weird. Now, what else is going on? Well, at least a couple people tried to debunk this alignment that is happening around the eclipse that's coming up in a few short weeks with the comet. And I'm like, Casey, the planets always align around the sun. No, they don't. And I'm going to show that to you. Here we have all the planets. It almost makes the eclipse look like it has wings. Is this the black demon with the wings on it that we saw in the comic? The guardians, the devil guardians. Every single planet is next to the sun. All 7 planets. Mars, Saturn, Neptune, Venus, Mercury, the comet, and Jupiter. and Uranus and the Pleiades all line up. Now, to prove my point, because here's the thing. If people are in denial, they're going to look for reasons why they don't think this is true. Here's what we're going to do. So here are the planets, and I'm going to basically go back in time, and we're going to go day by day, right? So here's the eclipse with all the planets, all 7 planets in a line. And it is an ecliptic, and they stay on this line, but they spread out. And that's what you're going to see next. I'm going to go day by day, so you can see that this is not always the case. So they're somewhat close, but we're still in proximity. Already, planets are dropping off, spreading out, and going out of the line, as you can see. Many of the planets don't even show up in this frame. There it goes. Boom. They're not always in the frame of the scene. See how they move around? Now I'm going day by day, so you can see this. Some of the planets line up there, but not all of them. Then they curve around. This is different. Now I'm going forward in time. We're already in 2025. But as you can see, it's almost never where they're all in a line like that. And especially during an eclipse and a comet together. So there's some kind of alignment going on here, and it remains to be seen how this is going to shake out. And here we are in the year of the dragon, and they're saying now that they found a real dragon fossil. And it took them 10 years, and they decide to announce it on 2/23, which is 3/22 backwards. They examined this fossil, which is like 5 meters long, which is 15 feet, and they decide now that they're going to reveal to the world that they had this Chinese dragon fossil. What the heck is going on? Let me go back into the chat. Make sure you guys are still with me. Something is definitely wrong. All right, you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you guys have any input, anything to add to any of this? Yeah. Remember we were talking about chronic wasting disease in deer, and they said nothing to worry about. It cannot skip to humans, right? And now all of a sudden they're unprepared. They don't know. The barrier is much smaller than they thought. That to me sounds like someone's already infected and they know it, and they're like, what do we do now? We just told everyone they were safe. It sounds to me like they already have some kind of zombie person infected by a deer sitting in a lab somewhere. And they're like, uh-oh, this isn't good. There's a hunger moon tomorrow, says Just a Girl. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, we're coming up on a full moon. I think it's actually, yeah, tomorrow. They're calling it a hunger moon? Wow. All right. What else is going on? The dragon being unearthed. A water tower accident in Texas, says Chris. Huge moon in Florida. Mad cow disease. Yeah, the two conditions are very similar to one another. Mad cow and chronic wasting, it's the same thing, but different species of animal, pretty much. Biden is the zombie. What did you guys think about the Tunguska connection? Yeah, there was also a fake moon landing. Yes, Christy. Yeah, they said the United States said they landed something on the moon, but yet there's no pictures. There's no video footage. Where's the 4K camera? Where's the video footage? We never, ever, ever get that. We're supposed to just trust that they really did it. So, you know, it's weird. Maybe they're going to say, "Oh, we all the moon stuff that we have on the moon." Because remember, this has been the year of all these fake moon landings, right? So maybe this all ties in together. Maybe they're going to say, "Wow, we actually filmed," and then they'll give us some crisp, clear film of this comet starting to hit the moon as it's on its way to Earth, right? And then everything will have been all just put there perfectly on time to tell us that this is going to happen. So, who knows? It's just weird, the timing, right? It's only in this last year that we've had India land on the moon, China land on the moon, and now the United States landing on the moon? Really? In the year of the dragon? Something's up, isn't it? Something is up. They're going to say, "Miraculously, we brought to life the landers that were laying dormant, and they have become the heroes of the apocalypse as they are filming this approaching comet that we thought was going to miss the Earth by billions of miles, but now it's come within 2 miles, and now we're starting to see the snowfall on Earth." And I wouldn't put it past these people. But guess what? We will not partake in the plagues to come. It says it as clear as day in the book of Revelation. Those who are saved will not partake in the plagues that are to come. But it's going to enrage the rest of humanity who is not affected by the plagues. And they're going to come after us. So, yeah, these lunar landers are going to become the heroes of the apocalypse. A machine. We're able to shine a lens onto the solar panel, and then the spark of life came back, and it was because of the lithium battery technology. I mean, I hate to laugh about this stuff, but right? This is what they come up with. I've always told people, if they wanted to prove, okay, listen, NASA's got a publicity problem, don't they? More and more people are not believing in NASA. So why not fix the problem, right? How would you fix the problem if you were NASA? Well, if I was running NASA and I wanted to get more tax dollars and funding and support and belief, the first thing that I would do, ready for this? I would fly to the moon if that was possible, which we all know it's probably not. And I would get one of those skylight things, that they beam up, the xenon lights that they beam up in the World Trade Center every year. And I would stick one of those on the moon. I would land it on the moon. I would shine it up in the sky with an American flag on it. And everybody from Earth would be able to look up in the sky and go, "Oh, they really did land on the moon," because I could see a spotlight shining or a laser shining back to Earth. Or I could see a pinpoint of light on the moon. But they won't do it. That would easily be a $1 billion project or a $1 million project. Land a craft on the moon and shine a xenon light up into the sky or back to Earth so everyone could get a telescope and look up and go, "Look at that little pinpoint. That proves you went to the moon." But they won't do it. The same reason why they won't use a 4K camera and take some darn pictures. Okay, that's my space rant for the day. Anyways. Just so frustrating, right? All right, you guys. What else is going on? Wouldn't that be the first thing you'd do if you ran NASA? To prove to everybody and silence all the critics? That'd be the first thing I'd do. But they won't do it. It's simple. All those engineers and scientists, they pay millions and billions of dollars on the payroll, and nobody can figure out how to prove they went to the moon. So, anyway, sorry about that rant. It happens sometimes. That's my space rant. All right. Gave them a blue beam idea. Yeah, they'll say we've detected giants walking on the moon on the dark side, and then they got like a blue beam projecting an image of a giant walking around up there. Unbelievable. Yeah, thumbs up the video if you can, you guys. A lot of research and editing went into this show today, as all the shows. And yeah. Yeah, there's a video of something striking the moon. Well, you know what's weird is that that was the exact theme that happened in the movie that we decoded called Age of Adeline. They showed a meteor hitting the moon, and they said that it caused the snow to fall in Sonoma, California. And all that was just metaphor for a comet. So yeah, this is what they're going to say. Comet dust is hitting the moon, and it's on its way to Earth, or something silly and ridiculous. And then there's going to be snow all over the Earth, and everyone's going to freak out like an iPad Goat 2. So, yeah, isn't that weird? And then the only reason why we decoded Age of Adeline was because we saw Blake Lively standing next to Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. And one of you was the one that said, hey, you need to look at Age of Adeline. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really into love stories, but we'll all check that out. Well, I listened to the Holy Spirit. He said, check it out, and boom. It was all about a comet. Fire and ice. Everything we've been talking about. All right, you guys. Well, what else is going on? All right. God is in control of everything. Absolutely, 100%. He is in control. And there's no need for fear, because we all know where we're going. Even if we lose our life, we know where we're going. There's no fear. We're looking forward to the next life. We're looking forward to eternity with the Most High and the Son. What is Orange Tree saying? Are you listening? I'm listening now. What do you have to say? Oh, boy. All right. Okay. Well, news is scaring people not to fly. Yes, cannons. And there's some kind of weird psyop going on in terms of travel down to Mexico. They're scaring people not to go to Mexico. They're saying the cartels have taken over the resorts, which it used to be hands off, and now that they're saying it is. Orange Tree says, make a video on all your predictions that came true. We've done that already. I did that a couple times. So, yeah. We did a couple of those. There have been several. I mean, the people that come to the channel know. But at a certain point, living in the past, if you've been following the channel, you just know. You know that when we talk about something, it starts happening in real life, like a week later. And it happened like every week for a while. It was doing that. But I don't want to sit here and just talk about that all the time. And it's not that we're doing it. It's living in the will of the Lord. And then he shares with the people that love him to prepare the flock. That's what all of this is about. It's about preparing us not to be tricked, number one. Number two, do not do what the devil tells you to do, because the devil rules this world through men, and men are telling you to do things like vote, or to do things like believe the liars that are in politics, or to focus on gold and silver. They're telling you all the wrong things to do. Okay? I'm telling you what God's telling me to tell you to do, which is real things that can help you weather the storm. Gold's going to be useless. Moths and rust destroy. It's going to be useless. What you need, the most important thing you're going to need and want, is a chainsaw or an axe, so you can make firewood and warmth for yourself in an emergency situation until Jesus comes back. There will be some hard times. We're already in the hard times. We're already in the sliding scale of hard times. And it's going to get worse. We're already in the sliding scale of hard times. This is a very, very important concept for you to understand. Because in the 1950s, life was great, wasn't it? We had tree-lined streets and sidewalks and Leave It to Beaver and stay-at-home moms and dads who worked and were able to provide for their family, and we had good schools. We're already in a type of tribulation. American life has devolved into something very weird, with people who don't even know what sex they are. And mutilation, self-mutilation, where your job doesn't pay you a fair wage to where you can't support yourself. Increasing taxes. We're already in a type of oppression. So if we're already in one, then who are we to assume it's not going to get worse? So how do you prepare for that? Well, I've been trying to tell people how to prepare for it. And I get a lot of pushback on this. They say, well, you're not supposed to worry about what you're going to eat. No, we're not worried about it. Just like Noah wasn't worried about it. But you have to go through certain steps so that God can bless your efforts so that you're not worried about it. So to just sit in one spot like an ostrich, with our heads in the ground, and think that God's going to send someone to save us on a raft out in the middle of the ocean, and we ignore the clues of preparation, then whose fault is that? That's testing the Lord your God. Every single patriarch in the Bible had to walk through steps and follow instructions. There were tabernacles built. There were 10 commandments. There was the Ark of the Covenant built. What if they would have sat back and said, well, we're not going to build a tabernacle. We don't want to. Are you starting to see what I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time? It's not about fear. It's about walking in God's will and preparing for the same thing he told Noah to prepare for, the same thing he told Moses to do. Follow my instructions. Run from the Egyptians who are chasing you. I'll do the rest. Build dwelling for yourself, the tabernacle. We've been put to sleep. We think that somehow by preparing on any level that it's bad. We're not trying to survive the end of the world. We're trying to survive until Jesus gets here to end the world. Because what happens is the devil will use your desperation against you. We already saw this during the pandemic. He used people's desperation against him, and that was just a little taste. Look at all the people who gave in. Oh, I have to do this. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my kids. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to create waves in my relationship. I'll just go ahead and get the pokey poke. And there's my rant about preparing in the end days. Do not give in to these people who tell you, oh, just don't worry about it. Just keep going to your job. Don't ever prepare. Keep paying your rent. Stay in that 30-year mortgage. Keep going to your football games. We're not supposed to live in fear as Christians. Well, you're not living in fear. It's called careful preparation. It's called living in God's will, understanding the signs, and acting accordingly. It's called living outside of this beast system, which Jesus told us over and over again not to love this world. And the people that are telling you, you don't need to prepare for anything, those people love this world. They're loving this world. They're the ones who, the reason why they're telling you is because they don't want to prepare. They're still holding on to this world, like Lot's wife. They're still invested in this world. They still have 401ks and watching the stock market and hoping things are going to get better in the stock market. They're the ones with brand new cars and with car payments and mortgages and jobs that they think are solid and good. And they don't want to look out and see other people living in God's will and just living their life like Christ did, with not a lot of possessions and not needing this world's entertainment and not spending a bunch of money and not storing up gold and silver. That's a threat to them. It shines the mirror in their face to where they're like, wait a minute, why aren't you doing what we're doing? Well, because we're trying to live our lives like Jesus lived his life, with not a lot of stuff. You guys have all seen the inside of my house. I live in a 1,000 square foot dwelling made out of sheds. It was a lot of hard work. And guess what? No mortgage. But you have to wait for that. Sometimes you have to sacrifice for years and years and years. I'm going on 11 years of sacrifice to be where I'm at right now. And you know what? It could all be taken away. But guess what? There's 6 acres. I could build another dwelling, right? So, and I get criticized for that. The same people sending Trump the billionaire money. So, sometimes you can't win, you can't please everybody, but sometimes these things require a little more thought and explanation. So, okay, I'm back in the chat now. That was another rant. We'll name that rant. I don't know what we'll name that rant. All right. Well, all right, you guys. Well, I guess we'll pop off of here. And, yeah. So they're talking about solar flares. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, I'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're going to do tomorrow. Probably a re-upload. I probably need to take a break from all this. But I'll be in the chat, of course, if I do a re-upload. And so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much love, everyone. Take care.